Today on the Ever Onward podcast, we have Jesse McKinney, CEO and co-founder of Red Aspen. Red Aspen began in 2017 here in Idaho. It's a great Idaho company, and it has been a juggernaut. It is now on track to have $40 million in revenue. Under Jess's leadership, Red Aspen has been named by Inc. as one of the fastest growing companies in the country the last 3 years in a row. She was awarded the Idaho Business Review 2021 CEO of Influence. She's involved in the community. Her company is exploding, and it's going to be really fun to hear the story and gain a lot of insights from her on business. Prior to Jesse joining us today, we'll have Ryan Cleverly with our Allquist update. Ryan is the COO and CFO of Allquist. Ryan Cleverly.
How you doing?
Hey, let's start with the most important thing.
Yeah.
Chase's touchdown pass last night.
It was.
So first of all, we have.
It was an expensive one.
So just a second, we have like big time guests in from out of town. Dinner last night. It's the most important dinner in a long time, and you can't go because of a football game. So that sets the stage.
Football and volleyball back to back. But yeah.
So tell us about the game.
Well, I'll back up real quick. So this particular middle school has not won a game in like 4 years. Last year they scored one touchdown on offense, and I'm thinking, okay, these poor kids. So my son and his best friend are trying to figure out how to get to an Alabama football game, and I said, well, you guys can't afford to do this. It's too expensive. You got to go across the country. And they're like, oh, we're going to wash cars and we're going to do all this stuff. I'm like, great. You're still not going to be able to do it. So I said, I'll tell you what. Let's make a deal. If you throw a touchdown pass, Chase.
Your son's a quarterback.
He's the quarterback.
Ted's the receiver.
He's the receiver.
But he may not play that much.
But he plays more defense than offense.
All right.
I said, but
so
if you throw
pretty safe.
Pretty safe bet. Super safe bet. They scored one touchdown last year in the whole season.
And lost every game.
Like, this isn't going to happen. If you throw a touchdown pass, I will take you both to an Alabama football game. So now we're a scrimmage and 4 games into the season. 24-18, they're losing. And
down by 6,
3 minutes left, 13-yard line. Coach puts Ted in. I'm like, uh-oh.
Did you think that?
I did. I saw him go in the game. Like, why are they putting Ted in the game? Ted doesn't play offense.
But Ted's probably not going to catch the ball anyway.
Two plays the whole game. Chase fakes a handoff, rolls out to the right, and I'm seeing this unfold. I'm like, oh, this is going to get expensive real quick. Ted's wide open in the end zone, throws the pass, touchdown.
They go crazy.
Not because they're winning a game for the first time in 4 years. They get to the sideline, they're like, Alabama, baby. I'm like, oh, word, I'm done.
Great game's coming up. It's going to cost you some dough, but it's going to be a fun one.
There is the Mercer game. I'm kind of thinking that maybe that's going to be the one that we have to go to.
Like, you talked about kissing your sister. You win the game, and then your dad says, hey, we're going to Mercer, Alabama.
It's a deal's a deal. I get to make the rules of the deal here.
I've got my money on Chase. One other quick thing for the update. You were on a panel yesterday. Talk a little bit about what you heard, economy, what people were saying.
Yeah, great symposium that CBRE put together. I was on a panel with a really good group of people, but there were other speakers there that did a nice job. The one before us was very interesting. It was kind of a debt equity market update with a number of different groups, a couple life cos, a couple other funds that do a lot of debt. And you could feel the desire to lend money. And it's there. I mean, you see the 50 basis point drop in the rate by the Fed. You see the short-term SOFR rate now trending downward. I think instead of an inverted yield curve, you're starting to see it's going to normalize, and which is everybody's saying we're not going to be in a recession. So all those factors play into it, and you've got groups that are saying, hey, we want to lend, but we want to lend in multifamily, industrial, maybe retail for the right deal, and then all of it really comes back down to what's your return on cost.
Yeah.
Which we know that intuitively, you just know you've got to hit a return on cost that's going to make sense with where the money's being lent at. And so if we're borrowing, if we can get to a point where we can borrow in the mid 5s, maybe that makes sense. And so the spreads are going to be really important where they're going to get more competitive. If you're looking at even a spread over a 10-year, then maybe we get into that mid 5 range on some of these deals. I think office is probably a 300 basis point spread, and they're looking at 50 to 55% loan to value, and you're like,
good luck.
Okay, I don't know if I want to.
Yeah, I guess the good news is there's not going to be a lot of people competing in our market.
No, nobody will compete. Nobody will build an office building. But there are groups out there that are still looking at office deals. So we could potentially do something there. But the reality is, We need to be able to look at a lot of different uses and a lot of different markets. They're super excited about Boise. And then you just look demographically at what's happening in our valley with Boise, and I think that the trends are really good. I think if you took Micron out of the mix, it could be an interesting time for Boise.
Be a different story.
I think that's going to give us some stimulus that will help us in the next 5 to 10 years. That if you stripped it out, I mean, we could be facing some different headwinds just because of cost of housing. And do mortgage rates come back into a place? And you'll probably talk more on that in upcoming podcasts too. But it's an interesting time for the housing market. It's kind of what Jerome Powell said. We can lower rates, but we can't just solve the housing problem. You got to increase supply.
Supply, right?
Yeah.
Great update.
Anyways,
Chase, if you're listening, man, I love you.
I don't know,
Great pass. Chase will never listen to this.
Hey, I didn't even tell you this, but my daughter was one of the finalists for Player of the Week on the Idaho Statesman too.
Whoa.
Had a great week last week, so I got to just throw that out to her too. So it's not all about Chase.
God bless their mother's DNA.
You know what? The kids got mom's athletic ability because I still have mine. Not true.
Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming on today.
We
were telling great stories already, so I thought we might as well start.
May as well start.
So I can't wait to get into you, but you were saying that you worked at Sensi.
I did work at Sensi. It was such an amazing place. And we moved in to one of your buildings because we were saying Lehman pulled your loan, and our CFO, Matthew, was at Lehman. He was working there the day everything imploded. So he was like there packing up
Your
the
CFO
box.
currently.
Our current CFO. Yeah. Isn't that wild? Gosh, full circle
It's
moment.
wild, but I'm going to, it's going to be about you, I promise you.
No,
But this is like a crazy story that I've never told on anywhere until it came up today. But we were building that project out. It was my first thing ever. I was still an ER doctor. Lehman Brothers shuts down, and I remember getting a call from my partner saying, hey, we're screwed.
Oh my gosh.
It's over. So it stayed there, it's still in the air. And then I'll never forget Orville Thompson. Sensi was just taken off.
Totally. It was a wild
and
time.
I called him and I said, hey, you're growing like crazy. Will you come in my building? I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And the short story is he leased 3 floors when he didn't have to.
Oh my gosh.
Signed a long-term lease, allowed me to get financing, finish the building, and then you moved in. And it was a beautiful building for him for a while until they built their campus. He knew he was going to build his campus, and he still came in.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And we needed the space. I remember that. And Orville and Heidi are just two of my favorite people
you were
in
down,
the whole world.
You were down in that little warehouse by RC Willie.
Yeah, we were right there. We needed some more space.
Jesse, let's start.
Yeah.
What a juggernaut you've been part of, right?
Oh my gosh, it's been a wild
Has it been crazy?
Ride. Bananas.
So I've had a couple people on here, and they're all have said, you need to get Jesse on. You need to hear the story.
Oh my gosh.
You need to hear what's going on. So thank you for coming on.
It's an honor. Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself for those who may not know you and the company, and just give us a little bit of background to start.
So my name is Jesse McKinney, and I'm really proud to serve as the CEO at Red Aspen. I launched Red Aspen with my 2 amazing business partners, Jeannie Reese and Amanda Moore. We launched in a little teeny tiny apartment in October of 2017 in downtown Boise. We had a mission, which is to inspire women to stand up, stand out, and stand together by uniting passion with purpose. We had a big dream, and we had no money, none. We didn't have anything. Jeannie had moved. She's my sister. She had moved up from Colorado, and she rented an apartment in downtown Boise, and really that's where we got started. Those were our humble beginnings. Wow. Yeah, it was kind of a wild ride.
I'm going to stop you a few times. So there's got to be a little bit more to tell us a little bit of the origin and what's going on behind this launch before you get rolling.
Totally. So Amanda, my partner, and I, we met at Sensi. Had just like the best experience there. Such a great experience. We had both left. I was thinking about what I wanted to talk to you about today, and I want to talk about motherhood today. And actually, it's funny because my story starts with motherhood. I had left this amazing position that I had to be a stay-at-home mom, which was the hardest job I have ever had in my entire life, like hands down. I was pregnant with my second son, and I don't tell this story a lot because it's kind of emotional. I was pregnant with my second son, and I was riding my bike in downtown Boise. So for those who know Boise know it's like bike capital, right?
Yeah.
And apparently you shouldn't be doing that when you're like super pregnant.
We'll avoid all medical advice.
I know about
podcast.
no medical advice. And I ended up having a really difficult pregnancy. I was riding my bike. There was an accident that I won't go into. And it resulted with, I was in the hospital, and that night we really didn't know what was going to happen. Was I going to live? Was the baby going to make it? All of these things. And, Tommy, I have another baby at home who's, 20 months old. And I remember being in the hospital that night, and I ended up writing a letter on my phone, like in the notes section of my phone, to my older son, Jack. And it talked about, if I don't make it, here are all of the things that I want you to be in the world. I want you to be, do the best that you can do with your God-given abilities, right? I want you to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I want you to be all of these things because I know you have that in you. Fast forward. Everything's fine. I now have a baby and a toddler. They're 22 months apart at home.
But take me through the emotion before you go.
Yeah.
I've had one of those experiences in my
you?
life when I had some heart stuff and I thought it was over.
Totally. It's hard.
It's life changing.
It's a pit in your stomach. It's a wound in your heart to know that. I think it's when you realize what's really important in life is in those moments.
And for me, when it happened to me, I had so I had open heart surgery, and then the next year and I didn't think I was going to die when I did that. Like the whole time through, I'm like, I'm going to be okay, and I should have worried, and I didn't. Yeah. And then the next year I had a heart attack, and when I got life flighted,
oh my gosh,
the entire flight, I thought, this is it.
Isn't it funny though in those moments? I mean, I don't know about you, but I wasn't thinking about myself.
No.
You think about all of the other people, all the things that are unsaid or the things that are left.
Overwhelming gratitude, first of all, as I thought through every person that I loved. And then it was overwhelming, grief's not the right word. Yeah. Sadness is the right word, because you just think about
what you're going to miss out on. I know.
I don't want this to end yet.
Not ready.
I'm not ready, but it was peaceful. Yeah. But for me, but I wish I would have. Hearing you say this now, I was in a helicopter, so it was hard for me to write stuff down while I had that, because it was an hour-long flight. But thank heaven you wrote it down. Did you save that? You know what?
I to this day I keep looking for it. But when I fast forward, I am I'll never forget. I was in our little house, and I was in the kitchen. And I now have a 22-month-old and like an infant, and I am pulling out my hair. I am just, you forget those moments, right? The moments you forget. And I am like, I've had it. I've just had it. I was just having one of those motherhood moments. And I remember opening up my notes app to like probably make a grocery list or something like that. And I found this letter and I read it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting here in my weakest moment, in my darkest moment, telling my son all of the things that I want him to do with his God-given abilities. And I know that I have that in me. And I know that in my darkest moments, in my weakest moments, it's those times that you really say, here are all the things that I wish I would have done, or the things that I want you to do. And I knew I had to lead by example for my son in that moment. That was it.
Powerful.
And that was when I kind of got this idea of how can I show him, how can I lead by example? And I don't want to say Red Aspen was born in that moment, but it was really kind of like the turning point for how we got started.
And probably the motivation and the drive and all that you need to do a business, because it's not easy.
No, sometimes I think.
Brutally hard, right?
Oh my gosh, do you ever think to yourself, if I would have known how much work it was going to be back then, I don't know that I would have done it. I don't know that I would have been able to, or maybe I would have, because I wouldn't have comprehended.
But there's no one in the world that could have told you how hard it was going to be, and what a grind, and it's going to cost more and be harder and obstacles. But it's our first time together. Yeah. But that's what makes it worth the journey, though, right?
Totally, right? You go through it's the hard that makes it worth it. It's
it really
the hard, right? And the people you meet along the way.
And you can't replace it. You can't, and you can't prepare for it. You just you got to have the motor and go for it. So then you guys get together. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, you're great. We're here. Let's get into it.
You got together. Yeah. And then.
Okay, so we launched in October of 2017, Red Aspen. Like I said, we just had we had no money. We were so poor. And we couldn't get a loan because of the industry that we work in, which is direct sales. And so really we had to bootstrap everything that we have. We poured our blood, sweat, tears, and nickels into this company. And when we launched, I remember, we have a video of us. We actually recorded a podcast. We have this audio from about an hour before we launched. And we were just saying, what's going to happen? Like, do you think we're going to look back at this day and what are we going to wish we'd done, or what are we going to wish we'd known, or what have we learned so far? And so we put out our cute little corner of the internet, put up our little shingle, and it has been a whirlwind experience from there. We broke even in 6 weeks, which was wild.
Broke even in 6 weeks.
6 weeks we broke even, which, on paper that sounds
holy
moly amazing, but I don't think a lot of people realize the trials and tribulations, the decisions that have to come with that, right? Because you say, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to just take the money and run like we got back our investment, or are we going to take that money and are we going to keep going? And we decided we were going to keep going.
Plowing it into it.
Yeah. We broke even in 6 weeks. We launched with 8 SKUs.
But the beautiful thing about that is whenever you start a business, like the day you become profitable is like this, oh, this is going to work?
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I get asked all the time. People are like, did you know it was Red Aspen was going to be successful? And I said, 100%. Because you have to have that belief, right? If you have those moments of doubt, right, then you're right. You create.
But
your
you're
own
smarter
destiny.
when you're profitable.
You are a lot smarter. It makes it a lot easier, I guess.
Okay, we're making more money than we're spending.
Right. We're doing something right.
So
Let's
that's 2017.
It's 2017. Yeah, the fall of 2017. And then in 2018, we made a commitment that we were going to launch. So we're a beauty company. So we launched with just 8 SKUs. We launched with 6 foam ink and silk eyelashes. So strip eyelashes. Okay. I'll get you a pair. You'll love it.
Oh, yeah.
And then eyelash glue and a lash and a lash applicator. And then we said, we want to be a beauty company. And we have these. This is my favorite part of our business. Like, we are a beauty company, and I think that's amazing. But we have now 14,000 independent brand ambassadors all over the country who sell our products. And they are my favorite part of this business. They are these incredible women who live our mission and support our mission. And beauty and the beauty industry it's a byproduct of what we get to do, right? We get to help build dreams, and we get to help people, moms. I'm supposed to probably say an income disclosure statement with this, right? But we get to help, moms. If it's just taking their kids to ice cream once a month, right? We get to help build community. We get to help build self-esteem, and that is such a privilege. It's awesome because it's this incredible thing that we get to do, but it's also awesome because it's this tremendous responsibility.
You've got to be incredibly proud of idea going to what it's gone to, and now the ripple effect of how many lives you're affecting on a daily, yearly.
The blessings come back to me tenfold. Right? And just gratitude and thanks, but also in watching people achieve their wildest dreams. It's the most rewarding. It's the most rewarding thing to watch someone else soar and to watch them fly and become the best versions of themselves.
It's the best part of being successful, right? If that's part of the ethos of why you're doing this thing, it's where true reward comes from.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds weird, but it's not about, it is about, that's what it's about.
Yeah, it really is.
It's the best part of making money is giving back and being able to give back. But I think what's harder to articulate is what you just said. It's the lives affected by the industry that's created.
Totally.
And that's what makes America great.
It is. It really is.
You think about the country we live in, that you can get with your sister and another friend and say, we're going to do this thing, and start 7 years ago.
Totally.
So tell us now about the explosion.
So 2018 rolls around. I'm just going to throw out some numbers. So we did about $3 million in 2018. And we're still operating out of this teeny tiny little apartment in downtown Boise. We made a commitment because we knew we wanted to be a beauty company. We knew we wanted to do more for our brand ambassadors, that we were going to launch one new beauty product every single month. That was a stupid commitment that we made. We had no idea what we were doing at the time, and we did it. We held true to that commitment. that 1 year later in October, we launched it's now our hero product. They're press-on nail dashes. So these are press-on nails. And we sold out of all of our inventory within 5 days. And we pretty much looked at each other and said, I think this is something. We think we've got something here. And we did. We absolutely did.
So I'm going to slow you down.
Yeah.
So for those of us that are catching up, so basically press-on nails that are sold through this direct marketing.
You got
deal,
it.
And
Yeah.
you sold out that quickly, and you're like, okay, this is...
We've got something. Yeah. And so, it's interesting. I think that there's we had put out a survey just like earlier that year saying, what kind of products do you want? And we asked our brand ambassadors, and nail products were ranked dead last. Nobody wanted those. And I think it's a really good example. Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. And I think we all kind of had that inclination in the moment to say, we think we actually have something that's different, that's blue ocean, that we think is going to work. What's the worst that could happen? Let's try it. And so sometimes you just have to have that courage, right, to go do it. So I think we launched with 7 or 8 styles, so like colors, shapes, sizes. And today we launch, around 40 to 60, depending on the month, press-on nails SKUs every single month. Sometimes, like last week for Halloween, we launched 19 SKUs in a week. So it's a lot of work. But that was 2018. 2019 takes us through another year of 50% growth. Great year. We moved into a little warehouse, right, kind of in the heart of Meridian. And I remember moving in, Tommy, and thinking to myself, how are we going to pay? How are we going to pay the rent on this place? Like I think we had 3,000 square feet at the time. And our products are, they're this big. They don't take up a lot of room. But I remember moving in and just thinking, okay, how are we going to do this? We'll figure it out. Like we'll get scrappy. We didn't take a paycheck for 3 years, right?
Wow.
Every dollar that came in, we reinvested. And yeah, it was,
Did you take on investment or no?
No, you know what? No one would give us a loan. And so we struggled a lot. We threw every dollar that we made back into Red Aspen. We didn't take a paycheck for 3 years. And when we did take a paycheck, it was so my sister could move out of the apartment downtown because it was full of stuff. Like she had the shortest commute to work though. It was a short commute to work. So my partner Amanda and I could get childcare because between us we have 4 little boys at that point. And so it wasn't very much. But today we're privately held. We get to call the shots. We don't have to answer to a board.
I was going to say, isn't that like in retrospect, because
such a blessing.
Your path would have been so much easier, and now all of a sudden you maintain control and all the upside and decisions and ultimately value, right?
Totally. But you know what? A lot of the ethos of our company hasn't changed. I think people think, they are all just really independently wealthy. But the fact of the matter is, on paper, that probably looks really great, but we reinvest constantly. We just built a brand new building. We just launched a brand new makeup line. We're adding skincare SKUs. It's so cool.
Before you go, COVID hits.
Okay, buckle up. Okay, I want to start this by saying I would never wish the financial crisis, the housing crisis, COVID, I would never wish that upon any family ever again. And sometimes I feel a little bit of survivor's guilt when I tell this story, less so as we get past and into the world we're in now. In late 2019, our manufacturers in China started shutting down. And so we saw some things coming. 2020 hits. We had an event here for our top leaders here in Boise. And it couldn't have been any later because 4 days later, the world shut down. That also meant that salons closed. Nail salons closed, lash techs closed. We grew by 850% that year. Again, on paper, that sounds pretty incredible, but the trials and tribulations, we went from overnight. In January of that year, we did about $350,000 in revenue. In April of 2020, we thought we were going to have our first $1 million month. We were wrong. We had our first $2 million month.
Oh my goodness.
And trying to figure out, we do all of our own pick, packing, and shipping. We're really firm believers that we're trying to bring jobs here to Idaho. And so we do all of our supply chain, all of our logistics. That's all run here. And wow, how do you do that? And social distance, it's all the problems that we all went through, right? And we're trying to support these independent businesses and lead from the front and encourage from behind and be present and show up and be with your families and teach them and be everything to everyone, right? And it was a lot, but Jeannie, Amanda, and I think really grew during that time period. We knew we social distanced from each other. These were really early days. And we all kind of took on our functional responsibilities, and then we actually did our work at night. So we would start early in the morning, and then after all of our pick, packing, and shipping team would go home, we would all get on a Zoom, maybe eat dinner together with our families, and then get on a Zoom call and work until 2 o'clock in the morning, and then start it all over the next day. The year is a little bit of a blur. There's a lot of stories from that year. A lot of stories, and I think we all have those. But one of the things that I'm most proud of is that when the world shut down and people needed opportunity, whether that opportunity was financial, whether that opportunity was friendship, whether that opportunity was stability in relationships, that we provided a platform to support that.
It's awesome story.
Thank you. Yeah, it's wild.
It's wild.
It was a lot.
Because you're also juggling. I was reminded, it's funny, we were at a dinner last night with some people from San Francisco, and we were downtown Boise, and they brought up COVID. Like, how was COVID for you? And I think that nowadays it's easy to just, wasn't that silly?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's over now, and I think there was so much political controversy about it and the vaccine and everything. But now you look back, but I reminded them, I'm like, well, guys, because they were kind of going down that path, and I said, hey, it started in Seattle, but then it was Sun Valley, Idaho.
Yeah, yes.
And
my husband was there that weekend.
And one of my best friends was the ER doc Jim Torres was the medical director there. And I remember calling him and him saying, this is bad. He's like, I've intubated and flown multiple people to St. Luke's in Boise, and we were freaked out. So you don't remember now how hard it was. Not like, it's all going to be okay and we have to wear baskets. It was this emotional, like, how do we get through this, and how do we protect people, and how do we not do something that's harmful to them? At the same time, we're trying to maintain our business and keep people's jobs, and then for you, it's not only all of that, but explosive growth in the middle of it, and how do I do it safe, and how do I
how do we it just, hindsight's 20/20, right? I mean, I think it's easy to forget that in those early days it was how scary it was. It was terrifying. It was so scary, and we had legitimate conversations of, okay, Amanda's leading our pick, pack, and ship team and our warehouse team. If Amanda gets sick and she dies, which one of us, these are the conversations you're having. And I know that it probably, looking back, you're like, oh, maybe that's a silly conversation to have, but it was not silly in the moment. It was not silly in the moment, and you have to have the foresight as a leader to say, what are we going to do? We have to have plans A through Z. You have to have that, so,
So explosive growth.
Crazy.
Tell us about how it's just continued to soar, right?
It's continued to go. And you know what? It's funny. You probably feel the same way. All of the years sort of blend together, but they go by like that. So, starting out in 2017 in this teeny tiny little apartment, broke even in 6 weeks. I think that was $400,000 in revenue for the year. Growing. We've made the Inc. 5000 list for the last 3 years in a row. We'll do over $40 million this year in revenue. And we have really big plans. We think about everything in terms of our mission. And for a while we were saying, our mission is, what if we were to say our goals are based around a revenue number, which I think a lot of companies do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for us, we wanted our goal to be based around our mission. And what that means to us is where we want to go next is we want to have paychecks in the hands of 25,000 women every single month. That's what we're here to do, that's awesome. That's what we're setting out to do, and that's what we're going to do.
But if you can align your goals with, isn't that the best part of life?
It's amazing.
If you can create a business, which you have, which aligns your goals and your your incentives with people and what's good for
Totally.
them, that's
Magic.
as good
It's
as it gets.
magical.
It's magical.
Yeah, it's magical. We just moved into a new warehouse that we built down the
I've
street.
heard it's beautiful.
You have to come see it.
I will definitely do that.
It's different than anywhere else you've seen. It's white and pink. We've got pink bay doors.
You do.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't wait.
All
I'm
pink
taking
doors.
you up on that.
Yeah, come see it. Come see it.
And so, and you said something I want to go back to.
Yeah.
You said one of the things you wanted to do was keep local jobs
Yeah,
and keep as much Idaho here. Talk about that.
totally. Well, so I am an Idaho native.
Where were you born?
I was born in St. Luke's downtown. Yeah.
So Boise.
Boise. Lived all over Idaho. Lived in Idaho Falls. Ended up graduating from high school out in Nampa. I did a stint in Colorado for college and came back here right after. I'm an Idaho native. And so I just am so proud of our city. I am so proud of the state. I can't imagine growing up anywhere else. And I know what we have is really special. And I also feel this like tremendous, it's not pressure, what's a responsibility. I feel a tremendous responsibility to give back to Idaho and to do the best that I can for this state. I love it. I love Idaho. It's an amazing place.
That's powerful because not everyone has that same, as
Yeah.
you're probably making decisions, if not every week, every month,
Yeah.
on what do I do? How do I outsource? How do I, what's the best way to
Totally.
do this from a profitability standpoint? But
Yeah.
having one of your founding principles be, let's take care of Idaho
Let's do it here.
is
Right.
amazing.
It would be, this is what's hard. It would be easier to do it somewhere else.
Absolutely.
It would be. But we have some incredible partners here in Idaho. We've got, we hire so many interns from Boise State and the University of Idaho, right? And that gives us just so much joy to have programs set up where we partner with them. Idaho we rank really low in education, right? We rank pretty low in terms of like what our workforce can do. I'm just being honest. And I think that it is the responsibility of business leaders, community leaders, philanthropy leaders to provide opportunities for people in our state so we can grow our state, so we can give back to our state, so they can prop up our state.
And so
right?
that we keep them here.
Totally. It's a great place.
If they stay here and you get this thing,
Yeah.
get this thing cranking. How many employees do you have now?
70 team members at we call it our treehouse. It's our HQ down the street from you.
Why Treehouse?
Well, we're Red Aspen, so everything we do has a symbolism. That's who we are. So, okay, here's how Red Aspen got its name. You'll love this. So, I found out, I didn't know a whole lot about trees. The ironic thing about this is I actually hate the woods. I hate camping.
You do?
I don't like it. Like, for me, Tommy, camping is staying where the hotel door faces the parking lot, okay?
I've got to agree. The older I get, I think I'm more like you than that.
Like, why do I
So
have to sleep on the ground? I don't want to.
Amen to that.
But what I found is that aspen trees, they are actually, I didn't know this, they're one common organism. So what looks like an independent tree is
Yes.
actually connected by its root system. And so it's one living, breathing organism. And actually, the largest organism in the world is a grove of aspen trees in Colorado, and it's called Pando. So
I've heard this.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. So we thought, wow, what an amazing metaphor for our business model, because you have these women who are independent, right? But below the surface, they're independent business owners. They work, they sell, but below the surface, they're working as a team, right? And like, what a cool metaphor. So that's how Red Aspen came to be. And red, because we honestly just thought it sounded cool. That was it. That was the one.
It's okay.
It's fine.
It's all right. Pink Aspen.
So pink aspen, oh, fine.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Pink roll-up doors, but red
Pink
Aspen.
roll-up doors with Red Aspen. You got it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, and 70, and then how many independent consultants are you at right now?
We have 14,000. So we're on our way.
You're on your way.
We're on our way. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. So we built the warehouse so that it could support that 25,000 paid brand ambassador mark for us. So, and then we'll figure it out from there.
I don't know the answer to this question,
Yeah.
so you shouldn't ask a question that I probably shouldn't. How's it been with your partners
Oh
going
my
through
gosh.
this? Because it's not always easy.
No. I am so blessed. Jeannie and Amanda, we are a kick butt team. It's not to say that we don't have our moments, but I look back on those partnership decisions and I think to myself sometimes how horribly wrong that could have gone. But at the end of the day, not only would I trust them, with our business, I would trust them with my family. I would trust them with any big decision that needed to be made. And I hope that they would say the same about me. They are way smarter than I am. There's no question about it. They are so talented. They are some of
Not so sure about that, but let's keep going.
I think they'd probably agree with me. They are incredibly talented, and they have the grit and determination that I am proud to align myself with. They're amazing.
What kind of, it's interesting hearing your story, and I don't know the
Yeah.
answer to these questions again, but not always easy.
No.
Because everyone's got strengths and weaknesses or blind spots or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And figuring those out with people that you work with every day is an interesting, I think
Yeah.
if you talk to my partners here, they would tell you
Yeah.
what my blind spots are like
Yeah.
right away.
Oh, totally.
But I think some of that might be luck matching up with people that complement your
Yeah.
weaknesses. And then there probably is part of it of saying, hey, we see the world differently.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit more about that. Because I
Yeah.
think it's like not that common to get along
No.
that well for that long of a time.
Well, and we are very different people, right? Politically, we're different. Our views are different. And I think that the world has become such a polarized
Oh,
place.
yeah.
And sometimes I look at the three of us and I think to myself, if we can get along, right? If we can see this, like certainly everyone can get along, right? Like we're different. We're different people. But you said something that I just went, yep, total spark. And that's sometimes we get lucky. And we find that we can kind of sync together, and our weaknesses and our strengths sort of, they don't overlap necessarily. And I think in business, there's always an element of strategy, but then there's always that element of luck, right? And I think this is an area where we did get really lucky.
In your compatibility.
In our compatibility sense, yeah. Amanda is, how are we going to, she is a workhorse, man. She will see a problem, she solves problems, and she will say, if I have to get from point A to point B, I will build you the system to get there. I will figure out how to code. I will figure out how to, solve the problem. I will figure out every nitty-gritty detail that it takes. And if I don't know who has the skill, I will learn it myself. And it's this unbelievable, like I can barely turn on my computer and she's over here like learning how to code. And then Jeannie has a unbelievable knack for research and diving into the littlest, tiniest details. She has taken our product development, and it has just gone from a place where we said, we're going to launch a product every month and we don't really know what we're doing, to world-class. She's able to build a world-class sustainable system. And, again, just rolls up her sleeves and does whatever she needs. So this is our website.
Yeah, let's spend some time on this.
Yeah.
So for those watching on YouTube, talk to us about how this is developed, because when you start, it's technology, it's part of the whole deal, right?
Oh, I don't think you know what you just asked here. That was a loaded question that you were bringing up. Okay, so direct sales, the technology solutions available in the direct sales market are real limited. They're so limited, Tommy. And we decided earlier this year, because you have really specific commission engines that you have to be able to link in with.
Yeah.
So there's few options, and our solutions are limited. So this website is actually a Shopify website. It took us 2 years to build, and we had to link it up with a commission engine that allowed us to then pay through our genealogy all of our brand ambassadors and their downline and their team volume and everything.
Did you have to build that database backend from scratch, or were you able to use a third-party service like Salesforce?
Yeah, we have like 17,000 apps connected into this.
Oh my gosh.
There's a lot. There's a lot that's connected into this. But man, it was a 2-year process. We launched this website in February of this year, and it was a labor of love. Doesn't even begin to explain. Not only in January did we move into our new warehouse, we had a huge grand opening for all of our top reps, and we launched this website. I can't believe that was just earlier this year. We were tired.
Functioning, working
Yeah.
well, and it solved a lot of
Yes.
problems through technology. Talk
It
to
is-
us about that, because
Yeah.
well, I do think you asked me when you came in here, we had a kind of a tech company. We started in
Yeah.
2001. And back then you had to build your own. There was no
I'm surprised you have
backend
any
stuff.
hair left.
Well, but every 3 years we had to redo it because
My
technology
gosh.
would change and we'd have to
Yeah.
redo it. And it was, but ultimately once we got it right, which probably took But this
Yeah.
is back during
Yeah.
changing technology.
Yeah.
It actually became the basis for the whole company. Are you finding the technology, even though it was painful, 2 years launch, is it doing what it's supposed to do?
Absolutely. We've seen our average order size go up by about $3 per order, which has been amazing. I mean, that really is significant. We've been able to add, and that's for a number of reasons. We've been able to add upsells to this website. So when you check out, it's here products that would pair really well. We've also been able, because we have this website, to do things like paid social ads. We are able to hook up all of our texting platforms, our email platforms, basically into the website. We have a data team, so data is incredibly important to us. And we are actually at a place where we can use our data, which is amazing. So we have Snowflake, which is amazing. So if someone, for example, sells, it's a good example. If a brand ambassador makes a sale on her website, so she has her own website. So if you had a website, if you were an independent brand ambassador, Tommy, your website would be Red Aspen Love /Tommy A, for example.
So you're white labeled, it's yours.
Totally, it's
your
yours. It's your website.
It's what you're sharing,
Yes.
but it's the way, this is genius.
Yeah, it's amazing.
This is
And
genius.
So if I'm your customer, I'm going to go to your website.
Yeah.
I'm going to purchase on your website, and then Red Aspen, basically on our back end, one of the apps we use, collects all of that data, all of that information. We pay you out in commission
Genius.
once a month. But I am now able, on behalf of the brand ambassadors, to reach out to their customers via email. Say they buy a skin tint. We have set up different flows so that we can send them an email and say, hey, congratulations on getting your skin tint. It just arrived in the mail. Here is how to apply it. Here's how to remove it. Hey, are you low? Because it's been 30 days, right? So go ahead and reorder. And they go back to the website, and even if they go to redaspenlove.com, when they use their email, it automatically attributes back to their brand ambassador. So their brand ambassador gets the sale. And we also text them. And again, they just put in their email and their brand ambassador gets the sale. It's such a great...
So you're creating an ongoing annuity on ongoing
Yeah,
products with
totally.
constant contact
Yeah.
with people. And as long as your products are meeting their needs, you're there
Totally.
to just keep, wow.
Yeah, and it's not without its flaws.
You're
We're
so
learning.
smart.
Yeah, well, thank you.
So if
it's a
someone wants to
team.
become a brand ambassador,
Yeah.
talk through that process and...
Totally. Yeah. So they go to redaspenlove.com. We have a brand ambassador locator on the website. So find a brand ambassador is right there. And if you put in, there's a locator by, so maybe you know a brand ambassador. Okay. So maybe you've seen someone on social media. I have a brand ambassador. You can type their name in and they'll populate. Or if you want to look for someone in your area, maybe you don't know a brand ambassador, you can search by zip code.
Oh, wow.
And if you are a brand ambassador that has sold, I think it's $300 in the month before, you'll show up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is also like incredibly incentivizing. You know, you're doing great work. Show up on the locator.
This is fantastic. Talk about social media partners.
Yes.
And how big of a part of your business that is with influencers and all. How does that all work?
Yeah. You know, everyone's an influencer in their own way, right? Everybody's got their own influence. We have women who have no social media presence whatsoever. We have Instagram influencers who have hundreds of thousands of followers and really everywhere in between. But I think the beautiful piece of our business is that, you know, when you share Red Aspen, right, you can go live, you can do a makeup tutorial. Through our website, they can actually build a cart and say, here's the look that I did, and they can share the cart, put it in their social stories, for example, and then the customer is like, oh, I love that look, or I love that manicure. They just click on it, it populates on their website with the cart already built, and the customer checks out, and so it's like pre-built for them. Social media is, we don't have a catalog. We don't think people need a lot of paper products in order to get started with their business. So we literally give them a website, which allows them to get started day one. And the majority of our online parties, which we call pop-ups, which are huge, they allow brand ambassadors to earn free product. Those are performed on, you know, Instagram and Facebook. There are women who are, I don't know a lot about TikTok, but there are women who are selling thousands of dollars a month on
my
TikTok.
21-year-old does.
Isn't it amazing?
It's amazing.
It's wild. I'm like,
It's crazy.
we have a presence there, but it scares me a little bit. Gotta get out there.
It scares me a lot.
Exactly. That's a topic for another day. But yeah, it's scary for me because I just don't know how to work it.
So you have, I mean, like people looking at this, it
Yeah.
sounds easy. Tremendous.
Oh my gosh, and so much sacrifice.
about
So much sacrifice.
back end work
Yeah.
and figuring this out and
Yeah.
how does it work and
how does it work and why does it work and is it working? Did it work the way we
do you
wanted
have your
it
own
to?
IT in-house or do you?
That is, we have really incredible partners. We do have our data team, which does a lot of IT work for us. Yeah, and our CFO, Matt, who came on in 2020. I was serving in our CEO and also CFO role pre-2020, and I always knew that I could manage us to a certain point, but that certain point came real fast in 2020. And Matt joined the team, and he's been just this incredible addition. But he is a jack of all trades, so he knows Ruby on
Isn't that
Rails.
nice?
He knows, yeah, he's pretty amazing. And so he's really been an instrumental part in taking us from what we were, I would say, in 2020, pre-2020, to where we are today. He's been just a force. So lots for him, lots of accolades for him.
Unbelievable story.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
so 25,000
It's the goal.
Goal.
It's the goal.
other goals do you guys think about? Do you think about exit? Do you think about
You know
growth?
what?
Do you, I mean,
Yeah,
do you think about, like,
what do we
you've
think
created
about?
this empire.
Yeah, we get asked the exit question a lot, actually, and I think we always surprise people. We're having so much fun. It's incredible how much fun we're having, and I just don't see a world in which, you know, we're not having
Yeah.
this much fun. Are there other things that I want to take on? Of course, right? There are things that I want to do specifically for women in the world, right? I'm not 100% sure what those things are yet. I know that we all have big hopes and dreams, but gosh, Red Aspen has been such an amazing vehicle to be able to serve a lot of those dreams.
This may sound a little corny, but like when you figure something out that helps
Yeah.
so many people already,
Yeah,
I mean, because like
Yeah.
building buildings is great,
yeah,
but we have to find other ways through other nonprofits we create, or we
Totally.
have a thing called Teens to Trades.
Wow.
But you have to kind of find something that's not, because in our core business, it's hard
Yeah.
to make a connection.
totally.
But your life is that connection.
It is that connection. You know, we were in
So the
Indianapolis.
bigger you get and the more you do, the more people you help and the
You
more.
get to help. It's this unbelievable honor and privilege. We were in Indianapolis 2 weekends ago. We have our annual Girls Weekend event. It's our convention. And we had about 700 brand ambassadors there, which was so cool. It's the most we've ever had at an event like that. And to hear the stories, I almost felt, just to be vulnerable, I almost felt like people were coming up and sharing their stories with me. And I almost didn't quite know how to accept those stories. Like, I don't know if you've ever had moments like that where people are sharing their hurt
No,
with
Jesse,
you.
this like there's superpowers you have that very few people do. So keep going.
But you know, you
Happens
it's
to us all the
hard.
time, right, Maddie? It's hey, thanks. No,
It's like hard to accept those stories from time
it probably
to time,
is. It's probably
right?
overwhelming,
Like,
right?
Yeah, and finally, I kind of, sorry, I'm getting a little tangled in your cord. Sorry if I missed anything up. But you know, you kind of get to this point where I had to start saying to people, like, I want you to know that I hear your story, and I fully am embracing your story, and like, it means a lot to me that you would share that with me. I've heard stories of, just in one weekend, I heard stories of loss, of growth, of finding yourself, of marriage, of children, of, you know, partnerships, just, and everything in between. And that's when I say it's all connected by this beauty business that's so much more than a beauty business.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, beauty is skin deep, right? I own a beauty business. I work with beauty companies all over the world. And I will tell you, there's nothing more beautiful than a person that is kind. And there's nothing more beautiful than a person that is going to come out and say, like, I'm here to support other people. That's what true beauty is. It's not just about what's on your face.
Dang, this is inspiring.
Well, gosh, thank you. It's, you know, it's our world. It's exciting to share a piece of it.
So how old are your kids now?
Oh my gosh, my kids are 10 on Monday and 8. Yeah.
So they've been on this journey with you.
They think Red Aspen is the coolest thing ever, and they want to have a company called Blue Aspen. Oh my gosh, there they are. This was a really special trip. We went to Maui for spring break. It was kind of like the first trip that we had really taken as a family, probably since we launched Red Aspen, which
You've
was
been
so
so
cool.
busy.
We've been so busy. Yeah, there they are. That's their first day of school this year. It was sweet. Yeah.
That's
Motherhood.
awesome.
You know, I really want to talk to you about motherhood. And, you know, I thought about this before I came on. I was like, I don't want to put Tommy in a position where he has to bring it up to me, because I know that a lot of people would probably perceive that as like, well, you'd never ask a guy that question. So I'm bringing it up to you. I'm putting it on the table. I get asked a lot as it relates to being a mom. People say like, how do you do it all? Like, how are you there? How do you show up? How do you do all these things? How do you have work-life balance? And I think that it's really important to say to anyone who is a working mom, a work from home mom, a stay-at-home mom, which I mentioned was the hardest job that I have ever had. In fact, I like to say, do you work outside the home when I meet other moms? Because working in the home is a very real job. There's a couple of things that I guess I just want to say to all of the audience or anyone who's watching this who, is a woman. And I think that, one, work-life balance is a crock. Like, that's not real. Like, stop letting people tell you that you just have to balance your life. Like,
and get rid of the guilt associated with it.
Totally. It's just stop, right? So I like to think about that in terms of work-life integration. Like, if I'm at work and I need to do something for my family, or if I'm at home and I need to do something for work, like, let's just drop those walls and let's just do it, okay? Let's give each other the grace to do that. And so that's really the first thing. And then the other thing that I wanted to say was, being a mom is such a privilege, and you cannot do it all. You can't. You can have it all, but you can't do it all. And there are sacrifices that you're going to have to make, whether that's, my husband and I don't have a very traditional relationship, not out of like design or plan, but he's right now, he's a stay-at-home dad. And my partner, Amanda, her husband, Alex, is as well. And these were not things that we like went into our marriages planning to be like, oh, you're going to be a stay-at-home dad. This was not it. But I think it's really important to call out, like, you can have it all. Or I'm sorry, you can't do every single thing, but you can have it all. But it comes with sacrifices, and you have to ask other people for help.
You do. And I think the wisdom in that, I think somehow the brochure early on in life tells us lies.
For sure, doesn't it?
It tells us lies. And I think with wisdom and time from people like you who have done this, listening to you and saying it's a lie, the brochure is a lie.
Yeah,
it's a lie.
It is a lie.
And it frees up guilt of knowing, hey, you had struggles.
Yeah.
Hearing you talk about being a stay-at-home mom, hearing you talk about
totally
this idea of balance, which I personally had a lot of guilt for a long time about that.
Did you?
A ton. And I had a friend that got me over that when he said, are your priorities right? Then forget balance, because you're going to go through these different phases of life where as long as you can balance, you can say in the morning, my priorities are those two beautiful boys and my relationship with my spouse, and we are going to change over time, and they're going to change over time. Yeah. But my priorities are the same.
Yeah.
That is so liberating.
Well, and I think too, it's like sometimes I talk about motherhood, but you're right. You should you should talk about parenthood in general, and like balancing all of those things. Like, it's not going to happen. There are different seasons, right? And
there are different seasons
that
and the liberation for people knowing that, hey, I've got a lot of grace for myself, and it's going to change. Yeah. And life is short and it's long. Right. We talked earlier about
and long.
It is. It's short in the fact that it goes by so quickly, but you have time to redefine yourself and to watch these relationships grow, and to watch your children go from toddlers to these little humans to these horrible teenagers to.
I haven't hit that stage yet, but I'm like bracing for it. I am ready.
Looking at these two, you're not going to have any problems.
Oh, one of them's going to give me a run for my money, that's for sure.
But I think that's a beautiful way to look at it.
It
and
is.
I think it's liberating for people that always are hard on themselves.
Totally.
For how they're making
you
everything
can
work.
give what you can give,
Yep.
right? You've got 24 hours in a day. You got to spend 8 of them sleeping. You do. So what is that going to leave you, right? You get to choose how you're going to spend, any hour that you're not sleeping.
And I'm sure there are times where you and your partners that it was a grind every day for weeks and weeks and weeks.
It was.
And I'm sure
there's a lot of sacrifice.
You're probably benefiting now.
Yeah.
With life, and it's that ups and downs, and who knows what brings
totally
tomorrow, and you just deal with it.
Totally.
But you prioritize the things that you prioritize, no matter what your days look like.
Absolutely. When we first started, so 2017, I used to bring a pack and play, because we couldn't afford childcare. Like, literally, when I tell you we didn't have any money, like, we didn't have any money. And so I would bring a pack and play to my sister, or office, my sister's apartment, and the only dark room was the bathroom. And so I'd set up the pack and play in the bathroom, and he would nap, and I would try to bust out a couple hours of work, right? And I've got all of these really cool pictures of my youngest, and he's like in a little USPS shipping parcel container, just hanging out in the warehouse. So they've gotten to see these pieces and see things grow. And what really ignites me or makes me so excited for them is you'll ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they'll say, we want to own businesses. Now they think that means that they get to build a building, which I think maybe is where it's coming from. But it's really exciting.
Hey,
I'm excited to support them on that journey if that's what they want.
It gives me the chills thinking about like legacy is a big word.
Yeah, it is a big word.
But if you think of being a mother and loving those kids, like redefining love, and then the example of letting them take this journey with you.
Totally. It's
That's
wild.
Pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Though.
Thanks for
Pretty
letting me
powerful.
talk about motherhood. I just feel like it's one of those things, especially as it relates to business, that we sort of gloss over, and I think a couple of years ago, the whole thing was, Sheryl Sandberg with lean in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't lean in anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to lean back for a second, right?
Yeah.
Like, lean back and just enjoy the time and enjoy the journey and, let yourself be.
Do you have any comments on the world we live in? The one thing that is just different now is I think motherhood, parenthood is hard.
Yeah.
I think it's hard. And I do see, you think of social media.
Totally.
And Arthur Brooks is someone I follow a lot. And he had a quote a few years ago. It's like, how can you not spend a lot of your day looking at people's most artificial happiness?
Their reels, the highlights.
Their reels.
The highlights.
When you're in your mundane world and somehow, do you have any suggestions for people that see this, and how do you insulate yourself from the sadness that it can cause? It can make you feel like,
I've been there 100%.
I mean, and you're in the beauty industry, right? This
Yes.
is,
Well, one, I think some of my favorite influencers show up in their most authentic way, right? And you see them and you're like, I can relate to you. Your house is a mess, right?
Yeah.
Your world is a mess. Your kid is not behaving. Like, I'm right there with you, I think it can be really hard when all you see is the highlight reel. And I'm going to be really honest. I am probably one of the people that shows you my highlight reel because we only want to show the best of ourselves, right? Like, I'm looking literally at my Instagram right now and I'm like, oh, there's me on a stage. There are my kids starting their first day of school. They just got haircuts the day before, but their hair always looks like that. Don't worry, right? Like, these are manufactured photos that I've put on my Instagram.
But that's normal, right?
Well, it is normal, but you can't look at what I have here and say, wow, that's 100% of her life. And so I think if we look at things with a different lens, it's okay to say, like, wow, that's her highlight reel. I can't compare myself. Like, if I compare myself to what you've done, right? I will find nothing but...
But that's a pretty high level of operating. Like, if you think about the way most of us work and life and whatever,
right.
To be able to oh, that's great, but I'm sure she has, it's more normal to go, oh man, I don't know how we help people realize
I think
that.
If all of us just show up authentically,
I
like,
think
maybe
so too.
we need to do a better job. I'm going to commit today to show up more authentically. I don't wear a pink suit every day. I normally look like, the other day I was in a bathrobe in my office because it was cold and that's all I could find in the prop closet. Okay? Like, we have a picture of it. My partner Amanda took a picture and she was like, some days you look really put together and other days you look like this. Right? Like, maybe we should show up more authentically for each other.
I just worry because I think, I have a beautiful 26-year-old daughter, 3 grandkids.
Oh.
And then I've got a 21-year-old and a 19-year-old. I just look at them and they're beautiful and they're wonderful and they're amazing, but I think they're hard on themselves sometimes.
Well, and I think comparison is the thief of joy in so many ways.
It is.
Right? If you compare what you have, and I think that's what social media does. It puts out the best that you have, And I think that's where it's hard because if, everyone's perception is their reality at the end of the day, right? Like, my perception is that, you always hang out in this studio filming, but that only tells you a piece of your life.
It does.
Right? Like, how do you connect on a more vulnerable level with people? And I think if we all showed up, not just on social media, but like in life a little bit more authentically, right? What a better world it would be.
Jesse, I think it kind of like vulnerability,
Yeah.
authenticity, like being who you are
Totally.
and being kind and just
Yeah.
helping other people. That's probably the essence of
Right.
life as you get older. But
Totally.
it's certainly not along the journey sometimes.
Yeah, I think that you're kind of trained from a young age, like especially in business, right? Like I went to business school. You're trained to be like look at the spreadsheet, analyze the data, get really into the numbers, trust the accountants, go with what the lawyers say. And all of that feels really cold, right? It doesn't have to feel cold. It can feel different, right? It can feel like a journey. It can feel like a path. You can use your heart to make decisions. You do also have to use your head. I'm not going to discount everything I just
Sure.
said, but you have to show up in a way. I think that at the end of the day, like you're the person who has to look themselves in the mirror, right? Some days that's easier than others.
Advice for anyone listening today, like kind of this went by like
I know, it's
blazed
been
by.
so much fun.
But advice for someone who, I mean, this is an incredible story, by the
Thank
way.
you.
And
Thank you.
It's very inspiring. But what would you leave people with?
I would say that you can do hard things. I think everyone is more capable, more competent, and more able than they give themselves credit for. So sometimes when you're in a pickle or you're in a jam, just close your eyes and tell yourself that you can do hard things, because I know you can.
Drop the
There you
mic.
go.
End it.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.